Hi lovelies, you are highly welcome back to my channel. My name is Akurede Adenike. If this is the first time of you coming to my channel, please like, share and subscribe. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell for you to be notified each time I upload new video. In this tutorial today, I would like to teach you how to cut and sew this beautiful one shoulder princess dart bustier with yoke. And if you want to know how to achieve this, please watch till the end. Now let's move into it. Now this is the pattern for my one shoulder princess dart bustier blouse with yoke that I'm making today. I have a video on how to draft it. It's my previous video. I'm going to put the link in the box below. Now I'm going to show you how to use it to get my fabric cut. Here is it now. This is the back part of it and this is the front part. Let me put this one aside. I'll show you the front part of it. This is my back part and this is my front part, as you can see. So this is the yoke for the front and here is it. This is it. So I'll now go ahead and use it to cut my fabric. This is the fabric I'm using for my tutorial today. It's Ankara fabric, one of the African print, and this is the net lace that I'm going to use for the yoke. So I have 2 yards of Ankara fabric here because I'm going to join the peplum to the down part of it, but I'm not going to make the peplum in this video because I already have a video on how to make peplum top. I'm going to put the link in the box below for you to understand how to make peplum top too. I've already used this pattern to cut my fabric out, but I'm going to explain how you are going to go about it. You know, this is the right side of my fabric and this is back part of it. Make sure you place it one by one. This is the right side of my pattern paper too. You have to place it like this. Make sure you place, you know, this is the wrong side. If you watch my video on how to draft it, you understand what I'm making, what I'm doing now. This is the wrong side of my pattern paper and this is the right side of it. Just make sure you place it on the right side like this and cut it out. Make sure you add all the necessary allowances to it. That's how you are going to place it. This is the second side of the back. You know, it's not the same shape, so you have to place it like this before cutting it out. And the yoke too, you are going to place it on the right side of the net of any fabric that you are using for your own yoke. So that is it for that. And as for the front, I'm going to place it like this as well. Cut it out on the right side of it. Make sure you place this one too on the right side of any fabric you are using for your yoke, but I'm using my net lace for it. So this is my back part now. Now I said I've already cut it out, but just for you to understand. So these 1/2 inch are seam allowance all through the shoulder, the neckline and the armhole line. So there is no need for me to add any seam allowance on the side and the zipper side because I've already added the necessary seam allowance to it. Here is a yoke for it. So I'm going to remove the pin that I used to hold the fabric, the pattern on the fabric, because I want to start stitching my top. So I'm going to put the pattern paper aside like this, and I've cut the lining for it too. So is it now? This is the lining for it. I used EST for the fabric and I used very soft interfacing for the lining. So here's the second part of the back. I've already gummed the interfacing to both fabric and lining. So I'll go ahead and place my fabric, my lining on the fabric. I'll let the right side face each other like this, but I'm going to add my yoke to it as well. So my yoke will just be like this. I'm going to let the right side of the net face the right side of the fabric. If you are a beginner, you can first of all stitch your net before stitching the lining to it, but as for me, I'm going to stitch it together like this. I'll just make sure the net is in between the lining and the fabric. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side too. Place my lining on the fabric like this. Let the right side of it face each other. Then the net, I'll just place it like this. Let the right side of the net face the right side of the fabric. I'll just do it like that, and let's make sure it is the the net is in between the fabric and the lining. That is it for the back. Let me move on to the front. So here's the front. This is the yoke for it, and this is the side. I added ½ inch seam allowance to it all through as well, but I didn't add seam allowance to the side of it because I've already added seam allowance, side seam allowance to the pattern, so while I was drafting it. So here is it now. As you can see, this is the yoke for the front. This is the center front and both two sides. These are the seam allowance for it, both armhole, all through the necessary area. So I'll go ahead and start stitching my front like this. I'm going to remove the paper. Remove the paper like this. As for the front too, this is the yoke for the front. As you can see, this is my center front and these are the both two sides of it. So I added interface into it. So the hairstay is added to the fabric, while the soft stay, the paper one, is added to the lining. And as for the center too, I added interfacing to both fabric and lining. So I'll go ahead now and I'll put my lining aside. I'm going to put it aside like this because I'm joining it separately before joining it together. This is my center front. Let me put the yoke aside as well. So this is my center front now, and this is the side. I'll just go ahead and start my stitching from the bottom here. Let me turn it like this for you to see. Here is it now. So you just place it like this. Let the right side face each other and start your stitching from here. Just make sure you follow this shape till you reach here. And as for the second one, you are going to place it on it like this. Stitch from here till you reach here. Make sure you follow this shape. So I'm going to do the same thing on the lining for the front before joining it together. I'm done stitching the lining to the fabric and the yoke as well. This is the back part of it. So I'll now go ahead and turn it again for me to finish the sides of it. So I'll just make sure the lining is on the right side of the fabric and the right side of the lining is facing the right side of the fabric, just like this. So I'm going to stitch here with ½ inch, but I'm going to notch this place for it to lay very well with ¼ inch. Don't let the sewing, don't let the notching touch the sewing, please. So I'm going to stitch both sides like this with ½ inch. I'm going to do the same thing on this second part of the back. Notch, open it up like this. Let the right side of the fabric face the right side of the lining. Stitch the side and make sure you notch here for it to lay very well. You know, it's a little bit curved, so you have to notch it a little bit and make sure the notching does not touch the sewing. So this is the front part of it. As you can see, is it. This is the lining for it. So I'll go ahead and notch the wrong side of it. Make sure you notch it like this with ¼ inch. Now I'm done notching the fabric and the lining. So I'll now go ahead and place it on each other like this. Let the right side face each other, both the lining and the fabric. Make sure it face each other like this. As you can see, here's it. Just place it like this. And before placing, make sure you place your yoke just like this. This is the right side of my yoke. And make sure the yoke is in between the lining and the fabric before stitching. If you are a beginner, if you cannot do it like that, you cannot get it like that, make sure you stitch your net before stitching the lining to it for it to be easier for you. So as for me, I'm going to stitch it together. I'll just make sure the net is in between the lining and the fabric, and I'm going to stitch from here till I reach here with 1/2 inch. So just make sure you follow this line, stitch from here with 1/2 inch till you reach here. So when I finish all that, and as for the sides, I'm going to stitch with 1/2 inch from here to the waist. So when I'm done stitching the back, here is it. This is the first one. I've turned it to the right side, and this is the second one of it. I'm turning it to the right side for you to see. Here's it now. So I'll go ahead and give it good press, and after ironing it, I'll just place my pattern paper on it for me to mark out my darts. I'm going to place it on it like this. As you can see, make sure you place it very well for you to mark your darts, but I'm going to place it on the wrong side of it. So here is my dart, and this is the wrong side of my back now. So I'm going to place it like this. You know, I have 1/2 inch here for my seam allowance, and on the shoulder too I have 1/2 inch for my seam allowance. So just make sure you place it on it like this. So I'm going to open it up like this and dot it out. Open this place too up like this and dot it out. So I'll go ahead and connect it straight like this and measure 1/2 inch here, then 1/2 inch here. So I'll go ahead and fold it just like this. This is how I'm going to fold the fabric. Just let me use this pattern paper to explain to you. I'm going to fold it like this and stitch from here now till the waist. So that is how I'm going to do, that's how I'm going to add the dart to my back part. I'm going to do the same thing on the second part of it. So that is for the back, and this is my front. I've stitched my net and the lining together on this part of it. This is where the one shoulder is. So this is the one shoulder for it, and I'm going to open it up for you to see. I've stitched it, as you can see. Let me first of all notch it because the place is curvy, so I have to notch it a little bit with 1/4 of an inch round before turning and ironing it. Make sure the knot, after notching this place, I'll just open it up like this and give it good press both inside and out of it. So is it, as you can see. Don't worry, I'm going to make a video on how to properly pad your bustier blouse without wadding. So both the lining and the fabric, I'm going to make a video on it, so just watch out for it. And this is how it's going to be. Now, as you can see, I'll just go ahead and give it good press both inside and out. So after ironing, I'll place it like this again. I'm going to let the right side of the fabric and lining face each other again for me to stitch both sides with 1/2 inch. So when I finish all that, I'll come and show you. This is my back part. I'm done adding the dart and I've ironed it out. And this is my front part. I've ironed the inside and outside of it, and I've stitched the both side with 1/2 inch. Both the lining and the fabric, I've stitched it together. So I'll go ahead and turn it to the right side now. So I'm going to join, just place it like this and iron it out. So after ironing, I'll go ahead and place my back on it because I want to join the shoulder of my back now. I'm joining the shoulder with 1/2 inch. This is for this side. It will just be like this. I'm going to join the shoulder of it and place this one too. Join the shoulder for it. So after joining the shoulder with 1/2 inch, I'll go ahead and stitch my side seam too. You know, if you watch my video on how to draft it, which I'm going to put the link in the box below, I added 1.5 for my seam allowance, for my side seam allowance, I've used ½ inch for the lining, so I'm going to stitch the remaining 1 inch from this armpit now down to the waist. So when I finish all that, I will come and show you what's next. I'm done stitching it, stitching both sides seam and the shoulder. So here is this inside of it, and this is the front of it, the right side of it and the wrong side of it. So I'll go ahead and join my desired sleeve and peplum to it. So this is all for today, guys. Let me show you how it will just look like. You can join anything to the down part of it. So here's my front part. As you can see, it's very nice and beautiful. And this is my peplum that I'm adding to it. It will just be like this. Let me turn it like this for you to see very well. So I'll go ahead and join the peplum to it. It will just be like this. So as you can see, it's very nice and beautiful. And I'm going to add my desired sleeve. So this is all for today, guys. If you find my tutorial helpful, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel to support my channel. If you have any question pertaining to cutting and sewing, you can join me on my Facebook group, The Tailors Sewing, created by Akorede Adenike. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Akorede Adenike. Till I see you in my next video, guys. Stay safe, stay blessed. Bye bye.